Welcome to the Happiest Mouse Podcast. This is a weekly show where we discuss all things Disney. If you enjoy going to the parks and talking about your love of Disney as much as we do, then this show is for you. You can subscribe to the Happiest Mouse Podcast in your favorite podcasting app.
So we're calling this episode 0 to use it as an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves to you and for you to get to know a little bit about us. So I'm Kiosha, and I'm here with my husband Shane. So we started this podcast basically, like Shane said, to talk about our love of Disney. So we actually live in Houston, Texas, where there's no Disney anywhere to be found. They even closed our Disney store. Wah, wah, wah. So we are trying to keep the Disney magic alive, even from far away. So we started this podcast.
Yeah, and we want to share our experience with you and our love of Disney with you guys as well. Now, even though we do currently live in Houston, Texas, why don't you tell them where we're from originally?
We are from the Golden State of California.
And so, yeah, we're husband and wife couple. We've been married almost 11 years, coming up on 11 years. We actually did our honeymoon in Disneyland. So this, again, like Kiosha said, this episode is just a little bit for you guys to learn more about us. So why don't we start off with how many times we've been to Disneyland? We're trying to do a count in our head because we did grow up in California. We used to go quite frequently growing up, and then even as young adults as well. So I would say I went about 20 or 30 times to Disneyland. I had to think back really hard. Growing up, we went at least once a summer, sometimes twice a year. I'd say about till I was like maybe 15 or 16 as a family, and then we kind of stopped. And then I didn't go again till I was maybe 22 or 23, and then we went for our honeymoon. So in all, about 20 or 30 times. What about you, Kiosha?
I think I'm right around that same range because I do remember as a young child going probably at least once a year, usually on the winter break. One of my parents would take us to Disneyland. At that time, it wasn't as crowded during Christmas or that time. So that's when we would go. But I pretty much always remember going to Disneyland, so I'm not even sure if that's an accurate number. It might be more than that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It might be a little bit more. Now, how old were you the first time you went to Disneyland, Kiosha?
You know, I'm not really sure. My earliest Disney memory, I guess, would be me having a Donald Duck t-shirt, and I was probably about 4. So I'm assuming I probably went even before that.
Yeah, I know the oldest, I guess my first time going to Disneyland, I was 3 weeks old. Now, obviously, I don't remember that. I only know that because my mom used to always tell me, and of course, we have pictures of me at 3 years old. And I even have a little Mickey, what do they call those, with the ears?
The little Mickey hat?
Yeah, the Mickey hat. The ones that you used to be able to get embroidered on the back, you'd put your name. Well, I was so little, they didn't have ones that size. So just a quick little story. My grandmother, at the time, she is no longer alive, but she found a coin purse in one of the stores. I don't know where. Obviously, I was 3 weeks old, but she cut off the zipper part of the coin purse, took it to the embroidery shop, and asked them to put my name on it. And this is a story. Obviously, I was told secondhand, but I guess the lady at the embroidery shop was asking her, "Where did you find this little hat?" And she told her, "Oh, it was a coin purse. They cut the zipper off." And my mom actually still has this hat to this day up on her wall as part of her Disney decoration. So long line of Disney family members who love Disney. And my earliest memory, though, was probably about 4, and it's kind of a vague memory. It's really more from pictures. I used to love Baloo growing up, and we have this picture of me. They had like a character meet and greet. I don't know if they called it that then, but it was basically a character meet and greet with Baloo back when they had the TV series.
Chippendale Rescue Rangers? Was that what he was on?
I think that's where he started, but he was also had his own show for a time. Tailspins, I think it was called Tailspins, right?
Oh, Tailspins. That was different, yeah. Yeah,
that was different. And so anyways, they had a meet and greet, but then my grandfather told them that Blue was my favorite. And so they took me in the back with him and let me dress up in his outfit with his little gray coat, or brown coat, I think it was, and the scarf and the hat. And I have pictures with Baloo. So I'm trying to find those pictures. If I can find them, we'll put them up on our Instagram account, The Happiest Mouse. So be sure to go and follow us there. Now, growing up in California, we didn't have annual passes as a family. But once we, later in life, once me and Kiosha got married, we did end up getting annual passes. And we got them the same year we went for our honeymoon, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we had them 1 year. And then we didn't have them again. We let them expire. And then we didn't get them again until actually 2019?
2020.
2020. That's right. We went in 2020 in February, just before the pandemic. And we got season passes and everything. And then, of course, we know what happened there. The world shut down. And they ended up giving us a refund on those annual passes. So we actually never got to use them except for that first visit in February. So just a little brief history about us being from California. But kind of switching gears a little bit, going to the bigger of the two United States parks, Disney World. How many times have you been to Disney World?
So technically, I've been twice. Only one of those trips do I remember. So my mother actually took us to Disney World when I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in that range. Well, I get really bad motion sickness, and so we took the ferry, like, Disney Magic-y. Well, I got seasick, and I was sick the entire day. And so my first memory of Magic Kingdom was spending the day in the first aid train station. I believe it was right when you walk in the park, there's a first aid station there, and there was like this leather couch or something, like a leather chair or something that I laid in the whole day. And so my mom went and took my sister around to all the other rides and things, but I was stuck in the first aid for the whole day. But the second time was just a few months ago. Disney World is pretty amazing. I'll leave it at that, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have a whole nother episode about our Disney World adventures.
Yeah, definitely. And so being in Texas now, we've learned it's actually cheaper for us to head east than it is to head west. And I kind of wish we would have figured this out sooner, because we've lived in Texas now for, has it been 7 years, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. 7 years.
Last year, December, was 7 years. And so our first trip, like Kiosha said, to Disney World was just this last year in November. We went Thanksgiving weekend. And of course, busy weekend to go, but we still had a lot of fun. That was my first time going to Disney World. And so we actually were going to buy annual passes because we realized how cheap it was for us to get there in relative to California. And so we were going to do that. But the week before we went, I believe about a week, maybe 10 days before we went on our trip, they stopped selling the annual passes. So right now we don't have annual passes. We hope to get them again, or get them once they go on sale again, rather. We also had plans to go to Japan, which was supposed to be coming up in February. We actually got a good deal on the tickets. We were going to go visit, obviously, multiple places in Japan, but one of the things we were going to do was visit Tokyo Disney and Tokyo Disney Sea, but we can't go due to the border closures. So hopefully we'll be able to go at another time, but because of that, we've changed our plans just a little bit. We do have plans to go to Disneyland again in February. We'll be there during the Lunar Festival, so we'll be reporting on that on one of our episodes. And we have plans to go to Disneyland Disney World in March. So we'll be back there. We'll be there for about a week, and we're going with some friends, and they can go during, what is it called?
Spring break.
Spring break. Yeah, so we'll be there during spring break again during one of the busiest times of the year, but we will be looking forward to that and having some fun. We're going to be talking about those trips on the podcast coming up as well.
And I'm actually very excited for our Disney World trip because we're going with our friends who have children, and one of their children, it is her dream to go to Disney World. So I'm very excited to be part of her dream.
Yeah, it'd be nice to experience that and get her expressions and her experience of the overall trip, and just to see her have a good time. We're not Disney World experts by any means. We are more Disneyland experts, but we're going to share our experience. And I know in our Disney World trip coming up, we were actually able to get some restaurant reservations. Do we want to tell them what reservations we got, or you want to save that for our next episode?
Of course, because I'm super excited. So, as you guys will come to find out, I love Beauty and the Beast. It's my favorite of all time, but only the animated version. So, at Magic Kingdom, as many of you know, there's a Beauty and the Beast restaurant.
Be our guest, I think, right?
Be our guest. And so we tried to get reservations on our last trip, but we booked too late. This time, we were able to get a reservation for lunch at Be Our Guest. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to tell you about it. So yeah, I'm just very excited.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. And then I think we have another reservation at Epcot, right?
Yes.
What restaurant is that again? Oh, Rose and Crown, huh?
Rose and Crown.
Yeah, so we'll be going there for dinner?
Lunch also.
Lunch. Okay, both of them are for lunch. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that'll be good. We can't wait to share those, our experience there with you guys. Now, that's pretty much all we have for today's episode. In the next episode, we will discuss our thoughts on our first trip to Disney World, like we just mentioned, what we thought of Genie Plus, and just the overall experience. Please be sure to subscribe to the Happiest Mouse Podcast on your favorite podcast app. Please be sure to leave a rating and review as it helps our show.
That wraps up this episode. See y'all real soon.